Leader, today it's not a case of calling for a debate or anything like that. It's really just to reference and comment some of the atrocious language that has been used by members of the other House in relation to some of the greatest atrocities that have been committed against mankind on the European continent in the last 60 to 70 years. Words like Nazi Germany, 1930s Germany, the Weimar Republic, other TDs have used the term Stalinist. Stalin murdered between 7 and 9 million people. And to use language like this, and language like this should be reserved, if not rarely used. And hopefully we will never need to use language like that again, that we'll never see such acts like that again on this planet. But they are the most serious words in the English language and should only be used and reserved to describe the most heinous crimes committed against our fellow man and woman. And for them to be thrown around for cheap headlines, for them to be thrown around to maybe increase somebody's profile, I think is the most disingenuous thing in the extreme. And it's not ignorance, Leader, because everybody knows what happened during this era. Everybody knows the death and murder and destruction that was leashed across the world throughout World War II as a result of these regimes. So it's not ignorance of history. They know absolutely the history and the meaning behind these words, and yet they still go and use them. And it's been happening for months now. It's been happening in radio interviews. It's been happening in the Dáil chamber. It's kicked off properly this week, and it's been rightly condemned by all sides of the House and everyone here. And I just think it is so incumbent on members of this House, whether it's the Senate or the fact that you're elected to Dáil Éireann, that language matters. And the use of language like that lessens, delegitimatizes the seriousness of those words. Because if we throw a word around enough times to describe a situation which we just don't agree with, well then all of a sudden it enters back into English discourse as an acceptable thing to say, and it's not. And this is the point that I've said. It should be reserved for the worst atrocities, not just something like a vaccine passport that you don't agree with. And the worst thing about it is they are absolutely cognizant of the history behind these words, and yet they continue to do it. And I think it is incumbent on everybody in this Oireachtas to call it out for what it is. It is totally and utterly wrong in the extreme, and the more of us that speak out against it, the better.